and then they want to know, what do I do to not mess this up? So then we start getting inundated with phone calls saying, I'm in a mediation, what do I do? So we developed these cheat sheets for our own attorneys so we don't have to be on call all the time when everyone's in mediation. So we're sharing this with you all also, that way if you do have a client where you find there are benefits in the household, this is just a quick cheat sheet. That way you know what they're talking about, what the assistance is, and how it might be impacted, okay? And we last updated these in June as we were getting ready for the State Bar Conference, okay? Okay, so there is of course a possibility that some of our families that are going to be coming to us soon had public benefits in the household. Maybe not everybody had public benefits because, of course, with a border community like ours, there are mixed immigration status households. It's very, very common. So typically what we often find, especially with our clients that are low income, often citizen children are the ones that qualified for benefits, or people were only getting benefits for their kids. They just wanted the kid to have the free lunch and Medicaid. Like that's, a lot of times we actually have a lot of clients that the main thing they were trying to do is take care of the kids. I don't need the help, but my kids do. And so the last thing that we want is that in addition to this tragedy, we definitely don't want to have an added burden into this household where now the kids are going to be affected where they don't get free lunch, or at school, or the kids are going to have problems going to the doctor, which right now they may need to go seek therapy or counseling or medication or have added services at school. And so it's very important to keep these benefits current and in place. So my goal is to go over super complicated things really, really fast, which you tell me how good I am at it. So government benefits in general, they can support families in lots of different ways. And this is the federal poverty level for 2019. As you can see, it's not really a lot of money, but of course, if you ever need to see how far a budget can go, I think you should look at low-income families because they'll stretch that dollar farther than you've ever seen it, which probably a lot of those people at Walmart were there because back-to-school shopping was that weekend and folders were 12 cents at Walmart that weekend. I don't know if you knew that. I do because I did back-to-school shopping. So, I mean, these are great ways to show how people can maximize their budget. So if this is our clients here, they may be able to qualify for public benefits, or they were already qualifying for benefits. So if you accept one of these cases, you can see how you're going to need to do a little bit of evaluation on any kind of settlement they get, whether it is the gift cards that the foundation is giving, or it is a life insurance policy, or later down the road if anyone is going to file any kind of affirmative lawsuit. All of those settlements may impact their benefits. And it might not be bad because, of course, if you end up with $100,000 from a life insurance policy, that's not a bad thing, but they should understand what the impact is on those benefits. So if you leave here today not remembering anything at all that I say, at least remember this slide. So they have a right to apply for benefits. Clients must report changes in the household, income, and assets, and they have a right to appeal. So even if all you remember really is that, oh, she talked really fast, I don't know what she said, this too. So these three things: apply, report, appeal. Because there's a lot of rules. There are so many rules. We could just throw rules at everybody, CFRs, and everyone would just fall asleep immediately. So what we're trying to do is, if you can understand this type of thing, I think we can do a whole lot. And then if you have your handy-dandy cheat sheet, you can figure out which benefits are needs-based, which benefits were determined under other circumstances. So we're also going to have clients that have various types of benefits, like they're going to have state benefits or federal benefits or a mix of both. So a client might have food stamps and SSI benefits. Food stamps, SNAP benefits are state benefit. That's based on state law with federal regulations guiding the state law. If they get SSI benefits, that's a federal benefit, federal law. And the reporting requirements are different, asset requirements are different, everything is different. So just one of the things that we tell everyone is, if you're getting benefits, you have to report it to whoever's giving it to you. So whoever's giving you those SNAP benefits, report it to them. Whoever's giving you that Social Security benefit, report it to Social Security. And then, if your benefits are impacted, you have a right to appeal. So if they reduce your benefits, you do have a right to appeal. And then we as attorneys or non-attorney reps can look at the rules and try to figure out what's going on. And for those attorneys in the room, a lot of these are just code-based. It's pretty easy to search the Social Security website rules to figure out which rules would apply for what would impact their benefits. Okay. This is a quick summary of needs-based benefits. So needs-based benefits provide cash and in-kind benefits to low-income, needy, and/or distressed individuals who do not contribute to the programs. And so this would often be like the cash assistance, like SSI or TANF. TANF is what everybody refers to as welfare. It's cash assistance for low-income families in Texas. It's temporary. It's very, very hard to get. The renewal process is like every 6 months. The application is 28 pages. It's pretty difficult for a lot of families to qualify for TANF in the first place and then to stay on TANF. But these are the needs-based programs that may be affected. So if clients have these benefits here, they would definitely need to report it. So let's see. And like I said, if any of you want this presentation, I'll email it to you right away. So the things that are going to affect needs-based benefits are any changes, of course, in income, household, and assets. And that will also include property transfers. So if there's any need to transfer any kind of property in this situation, which there may be, it may affect benefits. And it might affect it for the better, it might affect it for the worse, but we all need to be aware that these changes might occur. So these are needs-based benefits that may be affected. We're still, of course, barely about 3 weeks out, so people are still in the same month that they already received it. So let's say I received my SNAP benefits for August for the month. I always receive it on the 9th. So they may still have their SNAP benefits. Some family members we've encountered a lot of families that essentially they dropped everything and just took off running. So if your head of household had the Lone Star card in their purse, she dropped the purse and took off, there's a possibility nobody got those Lone Star benefits off the August card, right? And so the August benefits are on the card, in her purse, in an evidence bag, somewhere in wherever they put evidence. And so what we got to figure out is, how do we help these clients? And so we're trying to field as many of these questions as we possibly can, because what they can easily do is report a change. Report a change, say, I lost my card, can you send me a new card? And the state can review it to see if they're eligible for new benefits, like has anyone used those food stamps. So, and the state system is computerized, and they actually can do that check pretty fast. So there's a whole lot of ways that I think people saving their own lives may have affected some of these benefits as well, where it has nothing to do with eligibility. It's that I needed that card, and that card's in the wallet, in the purse, in the bag, in the evidence locker. Okay. And so these benefits are not need-based benefits. So there may have been people, and we actually have one client actually who has some of these not needs-based benefits, who came to us because the client was already on retirement benefits. She's an elderly individual. She was injured in the attack, and they were wondering what else they might qualify for, because now she needs extended long-term care. And under the federal rules, some of these benefits don't provide certain care. Some benefits do provide long-term extended care, some don't. And so if this individual had retirement benefits and Medicare, it may not cover nursing home care or 24-hour nurse care, which is why this individual came to us, because she now does require 24-hour care, and then we needed to try to figure out what else she's eligible for so that they can ensure a safe discharge from the hospital. Because of course the goal is everybody gets to go home. And so if she wants to go to her own home rather than a nursing home, we have to review for if they're also eligible for needs-based benefits. So they may be eligible for these not needs-based benefits, but are they eligible for the needs-based, like long-term care Medicaid or anything that would provide her with the 24-hour care. So common problem areas, and I'll skip over some of these because our presentation at the annual conference was like super broad. So some of these may be coming up, like Ms. Ness mentioned, some of the divorce issues and stuff like that may, I mean, if one of the parties passed away, the divorce is dead, so, you know, it changes a whole lot of things. But one of the big things that will still be in place is that this change, you can report that change. So if they were based on, somebody had temporary orders, they were receiving temporary child support, temporary alimony pending the final orders, and now they're getting zero, you can report that change to the agencies so that that way the change can be reflected on your benefits amount. So if my income was child support on temporary orders pending the finalization of my divorce, and now the divorce is not going forward, but now I'm not getting the $500 child support, you can report that you now have a change in income from 500 to zero, and they can make the adjustment on your food stamps. So like I said, it's apply, report, and appeal, right? Okay. And so probate is going to likely come up. Inheritance of real property, cash, vehicles, other things they may inherit may affect their tests, the eligibility tests. Right now, there's proposals to change the eligibility test for state benefits and for federal benefits, and that will greatly affect everybody who receives needs-based benefits. So if you have any clients at all that are receiving food stamps, the change that they're proposing to make, which would affect the federal food stamps rule, Texas would have to come into compliance with that rule, will mean that you can't have any assets more than about $3,500. So that would affect, I mean, how many cars run if it's worth $3,500, right? Like maybe in college, my car that could maybe get me to school and back, maybe it was worth $3,500. It's probably about $5,000. So even like those junkers that break down on you all the time might put you over the asset test if that new rule goes into effect. So some of the probate attorneys in here, if you are going to take these probate cases and you're looking at an heirship where there's 2 cars coming to somebody, but you know that that person is on needs-based benefits, it'll be up to you to notify them that, you know what, this may affect your needs-based benefits. So would you rather have the 2 cars or the food stamps? Or would you rather have the 2 cars or Medicaid? Because that's all going to come into play. And so these rules are changing right now. We received notice that this rule is changing, and I mean, it's going to be a $3,500 car. It just blows my mind. So, okay. And of course, I mean, there could be these instances where, let's say, the change in household may require them to need needs-based benefits, like food stamps, but they have a drug conviction. The law changed in Texas where only drug convictions affect your eligibility for food stamps, and you get 2 tries. So if you have 1 drug conviction, you're okay. But if you get 2 drug convictions, it's a lifetime bar for food stamps. So you could like murder people and still be eligible, but drug convictions will affect your eligibility. So it's important to know Texas likes to do weird things. I don't always understand. Okay. And of course, if any of these individuals are going to get unemployment, I know Soraya mentioned a little bit about some of the people that may be eligible for a change in hours. Just report that change. Report those changes and report them affirmatively, because they do have investigators that will investigate these cases. So If you don't report it, and they find out anyways, which they probably will, not today, maybe in 3 years or 4 years, when the investigators get around to it, they can charge you with overpayments, they can seize your tax refunds, a lot of government benefits can be affected. And so one of the things that we've seen is if you report it right away and then the agency makes the mistake, the overpayment, garnishment, and everything like that is way different than if the investigators discover the payment that you didn't report. If the investigators discover it, it's like a whole different world. It's an intentional program violation and a fraud. Yes, sir.
In your view, what is the correct lawful ethical way to turn down an inheritance to qualify for, not Medicaid or SSI, but for food stamps? You mentioned you have a choice between 2 cards and food stamps.
I think informed consent, I mean, you can absolutely explain everything to the client, explain what the impact is, and the client, I mean, I really do mostly do what my clients advise me to do. So if the client is saying, oh, I think I'd rather have the 2 cars than food stamps right now, and they have the right to do that, and let's say their son needs a car and they need a car. They sell the junker that was putting them over assets, they keep the good running car, son gets the car, and then you're not eligible for food stamps for a couple of months. But then you can always reapply once you become eligible again. Yes?
What if you say I want to
Will reformation statute allow?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry.
What's the lawful ethical way to turn down the cars and then stay eligible?
Oh, what do you, to say they don't want the car?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these families died intestate anyway, so there may be an opportunity for you all to do family settlement agreements. And so you can very easily, I think, work something out with some of these families where maybe a brother or a cousin is the one that wants the car, and you can establish it through just a family settlement agreement. The vast majority of them died intestate. So I think, I think that's going to be for all of you probate people to figure out. Yeah.
No, I agree. I was going to say if you have a will, you can reform it. But if they don't, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, of course, there may be families that disagree, and there always is, and that's, I mean, any of us, I mean, whatever you practice, we've all seen that, right? Like families, there's going to be some family there that you'll remember in 20 years. So, yes.
Bernadette, what if somebody's relative is killed, had life insurance, and they were named the beneficiary of life insurance, and there aren't food stamps? What, it's a $50,000 policy, that benefit. What happens there? That's obviously going to put them over the asset test.
Yeah, I mean, because then you got 50 grand, right? So do you need 140 bucks food stamps? So
but
like,
I'm saying,
yeah.
What if they're on Medicaid?
Yeah, so the big issue I think is going to be informed consent and then explaining what their options are. So let's say they need that Medicaid because they need a ventilator. Like, I can't pay it for a ventilator for very long with 50 grand anyways. So even if I do report it, what do? They can set up a special needs trust for that 50 grand. So that individual can then get the $50,000 from the life insurance policy, but then not damage their Medicaid. And so Medicaid is super important in Texas because very few people in Texas are insured. So if you do have a client who has Medicaid, especially one who has severe medical needs, like, I mean, I gave a ventilator because that's an easy one for everyone to imagine, or dialysis. And so these are it's cost prohibitive where, I mean, 50 grand would not go very far with if you have a ventilator. And so if you can protect that through special needs trusts, they can then draw down on the trust. It won't affect their assets test for their Medicaid, which is a needs-based benefit. So then they have their Medicaid, they have their needs met, but then they also were able to benefit from the life insurance policy. And at legal aid, we don't do trusts. So that would definitely be something that we would need the private bar to pick up for us, if there were those cases. Okay, and so some of this I'll just skip. So the big, I guess, takeaway is find out if they know if they have Medicaid or Medicare. Those clients that don't have it, they absolutely know they don't have Medicaid or Medicare. A lot of clients get confused with which one they have, Medicaid or Medicare. They're not quite sure. The fastest way I've found is to ask them if they pay co-pays. If you pay co-pays, you have Medicare. If you don't pay co-pays, you have Medicaid. And so for those of you that are meeting with clients, that's what they understand is the money out of their pocket. So I pay $3 to get my heart medicine, so I got Medicare, right? Okay. Now, I'm not sure how many households there will be where kids are affected, but there is deeming of assets and income for both kids' benefits and for adult benefits. So if one spouse inherits something or one spouse receives income, they can deem it to the spouse, but they can also deem it to a child that's receiving benefits. So if a child in the household had disabilities and was receiving SSI for kids, then that kid's benefits can be affected as well. So you would need to also remember, apply a report and appeal for those kids in the household that are receiving Medicaid for their disabilities. Okay, I don't know how much time, am I okay? Okay. Okay, there's two different big types of Social Security benefits. One is needs-based, one isn't. And so some of these clients will be okay if they inherit something or they get some sort of settlement because there's no income or assets test. But some of them, they may have their benefits affected. It doesn't mean that they're going to get kicked off forever, but it will be affected. The biggest issue that you're going to have is if you have a client with SSI benefits, it can reduce their SSI benefits, but what happens for a lot of our clients with disabilities is the Medicaid is more valuable than the cash assistance. So if losing my Medicaid would mean I can't get my insulin, I can't get my heart medicine or whatever because they're uninsured otherwise. That is their Medicaid. They need that part of the SSI program. So that would be definitely be an incidence where if you do have a client with one of these, they would need to probably talk with somebody about setting up some kind of a trust or working something out to figure out the eligibility so that even if they receive $1 of SSI benefits, they still get the Medicaid. So that way they won't lose their Medicaid because a lot of people rely on that for their livelihoods. Okay. So there are limits for income and resources and residence in the SSI program. The residents, they must reside here in the United States. They can't reside outside of the United States. So if they do end up needing this benefit, they must stay here. They can leave the country temporarily, but they can't stay out of the country for longer than 30 days at a time. So what we have a lot of here is we have a lot of clients who go to Juarez for medical treatment or for medicines. And that's okay, because you're only going to go for a little while and then come back, and you can still maintain your eligibility. So that's the only thing for residents that we do have to advise our clients on. They do have investigators that will go to your house and figure out if you actually live there. And those investigators take it like super serious. I had a hearing where one of my clients, the investigator cited that he only had 6 pairs of pants, and that proves that he doesn't live in the United States. But I was thinking, like, 6 pairs of pants is pretty good, right? Like, I mean, it's hot, and also, like, 6 pairs of pants is okay. So we actually had to go all the way to hearing on that one to say, like, I mean, he's a low-income guy. Like, how many pants does he need? So, but they do take it very seriously. Okay, so here's the reporting requirements. Changes in the household should be made within 10 days of receiving it. So let's say we do have somebody who's going to receive a life insurance policy. It's not when they find the life insurance policy in the drawer, right? Because they haven't received anything yet. It's when they get that check. You know, when they get that check and they put it in the bank, that's when the clock starts. that's when they should report it. So, I mean, because even finding it in the drawer doesn't mean it was current, right? So, I mean, when they get the check is when they have to report. And then there's, of course, resources tests. So you're allowed to have one car in your name. One of the issues that we have a lot of is people who have bad credit ask mom who has good credit to help them get a car. So then we have mom own like 4 cars, even though she really only owes 1 car and her kids drive the other 3. And I mean, that could occur is one of the things that I'm thinking here, is that somebody who has the good credit or somebody who is the heir is going to inherit more than 1 car, and it may kick them over the assets test. And then you're allowed a lot of things like accounts, government payments, so all of these things will be tested under the resource tests. I mean, burial insurance, all of these things, like you can also prepay your funeral if you're going to go, like let's say they're going to go over income or over resources, but they want to do something with this money, they can prepay a funeral or something like that. Like, and there's different ways that we can help you guys. Nobody should transfer property for less than fair market value. We have a lot of clients who say like, oh, this daughter is my good daughter that helped me, so I want her to have the house, which makes sense to me. She's a good daughter, go ahead and give her the house. But give it to her after you pass away. The ones that will get them in trouble is the gift of the house while they're alive and receiving benefits. And so all of you probate attorneys or family law attorneys, you can always, you know, see those situations occurring and prepare the transfer on death deeds or a will or whatever document to help them transfer the property to the good daughter so that it won't affect her benefits. A lot of clients may need assistance with applying for disability benefits because a lot of these injuries were life-changing and very, very severe. So even just from a couple of people that we've spoken to who are going to need long-term care or 24-hour care, I mean, they didn't need that before. And now they were working, they're fully employed, and now they're likely going to need to seek long-term disability benefits. So there are going to be these cases where people will need help applying. Some of them may qualify for retirement benefits. You can retire early at 62 under the Social Security rules, and there's different types of things that they should consider if they should retire at 62 or if they should wait until their full retirement age. I believe right now full retirement age is 65 or 67, and then for some people it's going to start going up to 68 pretty soon. These are things that people may be interested in also because they may not be able to go back to work now. Let's say I was a truck driver and that's a physically demanding job. I can't go back to being a truck driver. I don't really have any other sort of skills or education to fall back on, and I'm 62 years old. What am I going to do? And so these are the kinds of clients that may be coming up.
Does
Yes,
the
sir.
Social Security website have some good information and insight on that? Retirement strategies?
They do, and then I actually think it's a pretty good, it's a government website, but it's actually really good. They have forms available. They have a lot of booklets that will explain things. So even if you're just wondering, should I retire at 62, they even have pamphlets for that prepared. And there's also Social Security disability firms all over the country that I think drum up business by having really good websites. And one of the ways they do that is they have really good question and answer websites where if you Google your question, some of these disability firms have very good information that at least will have a cite to the rule. So as an attorney, you can go look at that rule and then advise the client as well. Okay. There may be people eligible for survivor's benefits. So let's say a worker is the person who's deceased and they had minor children. Those minor children are eligible for survivor's benefits based on worker's work record. And I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't know how many of our families will be affected by this, but if there is minor children who had a parent who was a worker, who has a work record that is now deceased, those children are eligible for survivors. So those children, we can assist them with the Social Security disability, and they can receive that until they turn 18. There's widow's benefits, so if a worker is the person who's deceased and now the other spouse is wondering if they qualify for benefits, there are widows and widowers benefits. Okay. I already went through a bunch of food stamps, so I'm going to skip. Let me see. So they gave me the 5 minutes warning, so I could do questions or I could try to speak super fast.
Bernie, if people get donations from like GoFundMe or anything like that, does that impact their public benefits?
Yes. So we're already researching this because we do have a lot of these families have GoFundMe set up, and we're trying to figure out how the GoFundMe will affect their benefits. We actually have several of our young attorneys researching this right now, as well as some of the money that they're getting from foundations, plus the CDC benefits. So clients that are getting the crime victims compensation benefits, that one's pretty easy. The crime victims compensation benefits it won't negatively impact a lot of their benefits. But the extra money, those GoFundMes people have, and then the foundation monies, they may affect their benefits, but it might not be the end of the world, right? Because like the example with the person getting $50,000, it's a good thing to have some assets, but there needs to be steps to protect what they already have, or they need to make that decision for themselves if they want to lose eligibility for a couple of months, and then if they spend down their money and they want to reapply for benefits, they can do that as well. And we have one of our attorneys looking at the GoFundMe thing like right now, because it's going to a sister of someone.
Bernadette, if a family asks us that question, because you know we're going to give out another $1,000 towards the end of next week, but it'll be optional. They think that they might lose a benefit. Can we refer them to you guys?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then we can take a look at how it'll affect them. Because, you know, with some of the families, it'll be okay if they don't get food stamps for a month or two, right? Because they're going to need to buy new furniture anyways, or they're going to need to, you know, move to a different apartment, or, I mean, who knows what kind of changes some of these families are going to go through. So once we advise them, we've found, even when we're telling our clients, like, you're not going to be eligible for a couple of months, but X, we find that just the knowledge alone can help the situation, because then they have that peace of mind and they can feel better about their decision. And so I really think a lot of these questions are going to just be based on informed consent, where you've informed the client all the different impacts, all of the different interactions with benefits, and then they're allowed to make the decision best for their family. Okay. So Medicare Savings Program, super complicated, but it helps them. So if you have clients that are low income, they receive Medicare, they can also receive a Medicaid benefit that would help them pay their Medicare premiums. So there's a lot of different programs that can help clients. And we're always available to help advise if you get any of these clients referred to you all that they have benefits in the household. We're always available to assist. I'll give you Beto's extension. Okay. We've also had a lot of people wondering about the impact on immigration. How is this going to affect my immigration? I saw in the news, public charge, something scary. I saw in the news, something else really scary. And now I'm extremely scared. And so, go to Melissa. No. So the big thing is, of course, at legal aid, being a border office on legal aid, a bunch of us have gotten very good at looking at mixed status immigration families anyways, because that's just the nature of the households in this area. And so we can always look at the eligibility requirements for those people in the household that may be eligible versus the people in the household that are not eligible for benefits, undocumented legal permanent residents, refugee status, asylee status, or victims of crime like in this situation. And we can figure out if there's going to be an impact on those benefits. We're also lucky at Trala where we have immigration attorneys right next door to public benefits attorneys. So then I can go down the hallway and ask Ashley for help. And then I know Melissa since law school, so I can also call Melissa. So definitely, there's going to be all of these clients that are afraid. And I mean, in a lot of ways, rightfully so, but in a whole lot of other ways, there's no need to be too afraid of some of these things. And so that's what we're here as attorneys to do, is to explain what the law is and what that impact is on those clients. Okay? So essentially, I know I threw tons and tons of stuff at you. We actually presented this for about 2 hours at the state annual conference, so I get it that I skipped through a ton of stuff. But take the cheat sheets, read the cheat sheets. That way you can understand what kind of benefits may be impacted. If you have any questions at all, feel free to call me or anyone at Trala, and they'll transfer you to me. And then we can try to figure out how to best help some of these families if they're affected. Okay?
Thank you.